Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Damn Podcast. I am your host, Angie Machado. Joined with me, as always, Spencer Newell, Kaz Smith, and Davis Stone. Guys, I'm coming to you from the visiting coaches box up in the Research Stadium press level, just because we just finished up the JaMarcus Shephard introductory press conference. And so I needed a place to come and work since I couldn't make it home. But we have a lot to talk about because this whole podcast is going to be on the introduction of Oregon State's new head football coach, JaMarcus Shephard. It was a great introductory press conference. So we're going to just start. We're going to jump right in because I know Spencer and Kaz were watching. Davis and I were in attendance. Spencer, you start. Just your 10,000 foot level takeaways and your first impressions.
I mean, look, I feel like, and when I say feel, I mean viscerally, like there's hope for this program. I think President Murphy, you know, when she described JaMarcus as just having infectious energy, like if you didn't feel that, like, do you have a pulse? I mean, like let's go. Like, I think we're all ready for this, and we've been yearning for this for a long time, and he delivered, and I can't wait to see what he delivers next. Yeah,
definite energy. Kaz, what were your thoughts?
I was super excited. I mean, I was getting fired up. I was listening to it. I wanted to throw some pads on and maybe try out for the team next year. Just his energy and everything he said was amazing, and I'm really excited for the future with him.
Yeah. And if you guys are watching this live, make sure you jump in the comments. We'd love to see you. We're doing this kind of as a rough, not a huge a schedule to stick to here. We just want to kind of go initial thoughts. Davis was sitting right next to me we were in the Cascade Club, which is on the new side. It was a nice room. Beforehand, they had JaMarcus and his wife and family meeting with some boosters, some donors in the room next door. Then he came over. Davis, what were your thoughts? Because there are times I kept elbowing Davis, like making comments.
I mean, I just couldn't help but like smile. I mean, his energy just brings so much joy to the room. I mean, he's like Zakiah Saez, like just always has a smile on his face. I mean, great energy. And yeah, I mean, you had a great question for him that got him real fired up. I mean, he was,
and everybody took all my questions. I kept raising my hand trying to get in there. And then, you know, I was like, I really wanted to hear his recruiting philosophy. Mm-hmm. And then Isaac next to me asked that question. And then I wanted to ask about defense, and somebody else asked anyway. So that was, but Joy, I did see that. What else did you see? Sorry, I cut you off there.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he just got me super excited. Like by the end of that, I think I had a smile on my face like the entire time, just excited to see what he can do.
Yeah. Before they introduced him, when I think it was President Murphy was talking, him and Scott Barnes were off kind of to the side. And there was when Murphy said something and he smiled, I looked at Davis and I said, how can you not smile? Like when he flashes a smile. I mean, it is infectious. After what you guys all saw, then he was off kind of doing a one-off with TV cameras stand up. And a couple of things kind of struck me. And he talked about joy, and Davis used that word, I think, on purpose, because he talked about that is one thing he wants to do is bring joy. He said there's a difference between happiness and joy, that happiness is fleeting, that it's, you know, you take a bite of ice cream or something good to eat, or something good happens to you and that makes you happy. But joy is something that you choose to live in. And I don't know, he said a lot of nuggets to me that I guess in my old brain here really kind of just stuck with me. And I think what I really walked away from is the fact that A, he has a vision, and B, it's about building men, and it's about building these players up. And like he talked about, building these guys up so they can handle adversity down the road. So he did make a point to tell the football alumni that they're always welcome. He has already spoken with not only Brandon Cooks, who was on the committee, but had spoken with the Rogers brothers, Steven Jackson. He's been talking to a lot of them. In fact, they had to pull him out of the media session after an hour and a half so that he could go talk with some boosters and do some calls with some boosters. He's already spoken on the phone to Pat Reeser. So he's working. Davis, the one thing I did talk to you as I said, can you imagine getting this guy in front of boosters? Like, it's like open my wallet and just take my money. Like, the vision was. So Spencer, one of the things we've talked about on this pod, over the past 6-7 weeks that we've been in this coaching search mode is a first-time head coach and taking that risk. I felt that he has a strong vision. What were your thoughts about that?
I couldn't agree more. Like his 3 pillars were basically ball dominance, details, and explosiveness. 3 things that we've yearned for as a program, to be on a consistent basis. I will say one of the things that struck me the most when he was asked about like adversity and the current players and that sort of thing, and he said, "I'm going to make adversity for our current players and the players we bring in because I want them to learn from it and how to deal with it." And I thought that was extremely powerful. I've not heard that out of a coach before.
Yeah, I agree. Kaz, you were in the Coach Shephard camp from like day one, day one. In fact, I remember text strings a month or 2 ago. Is this all you had hoped and what you had been hearing?
Yeah.
With the vision and everything.
Yeah. I was hearing from other sources and whatnot, but that's all they were relaying to me was he's just a ball of energy and joy and just he's going to get everyone fired up. And like Spencer said, he's going to instill a culture in Oregon State like we have never seen before. I have no doubt in that. And he's going to make these guys tough for sure. But
yeah, I'm looking at comments. Dave LaChapelle said, "I'm ready. I didn't have season tickets for the first time in 20 years this year, but I'll be back next season." I think a lot of Beaver fans, and that he kind of put that out there at the end of his press conference, he wants fans back. Davis, did he articulate his vision enough for you of what do you feel he's the CEO that can handle as Scott Barnes says, the enterprise of college football?
I think so. He brought up a great point about like explosive plays. He said like without an explosive play on your drives, they're averaging like 1.2 points per drive, and with an explosive play it's like 4. So he already has a plan of like and having an explosive offense, or at least having the ability to have an explosive play in their offense.
So I was able to briefly jump in the lodge. Like I said, the press conference went an hour and a half that we were down in the club. So I didn't have a ton of time to come up here and prep for the podcast, but I saw some comments. A couple people said that they wished he would have spoke a little more in depth about what his offense would look like. Being that you guys all watched it, we all kind of heard different things. We'll start with Davis this time. Did you think he articulated what that offense? He kind of talked a little bit about coming from Mike Leach in the air raid, but then he also talked about Willie Taggart came from a Jim Harbaugh, and that was a pound the rock. So did you walk away with that, like what his offense will look like, or do you think he was being vague, kind of on purpose?
I do think he was a little bit vague about it, but I do think just from where he's coming from and what we've seen him do at Alabama and at Washington, I think he definitely is like a pass heavy type of, at least their offensive has been pass heavy, but he did say he wants to establish just controlling the ball, and controlling the ball, you need to be able to run.
Yeah. Spencer, what did you hear?
Yeah. So I heard the same thing, and I'm confident with his answer. I'm also curious, the people asking those questions, that was one of the biggest concerns we've had over the last 2 years. So I'm not surprised by the question. Like, everyone wanted to know what our identity was, and this year we never even found it. So yeah, that question is going to be pertinent. And given where the setting where we were and the introductory part of this whole thing, I thought his answer was fine.
Kaz, any thoughts there from you?
I agree with Spencer and Davis.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's too. I mean, he is still in the process of putting together his staff, so some of that is also going to be dependent on who is able to bring in, as on the offensive and then defensive side of the ball. Defense is a little different just because, offense, you kind of want a system, you want a plan. But I think anytime you're a wide receiver coach, wide receiver coaches are going to want to get the ball into the playmaker's hands. And so I think, like Davis said, he talked about explosion, but he also talked, and I thought this kind of resonated with me just because of the season Oregon State has had. He wants to minimize mistakes, and it comes back to discipline. And that was one of the big things he talked about then as a whole, both with the players themselves and the discipline they live their life with, but it also translates into the football field. And that was, I think that was glaringly obvious from special teams blunders to penalties. We saw that stretch the entire 12-game season this year, that Oregon State did not play with discipline at all. So that one really stuck out to me. What else, Davis, just made you you kind of smiled a lot throughout the thing, but what did you really take away and wow, this is going to be different?
Oh, we talked about it a little bit. Obviously his energy, just in the way, his willingness to just be able to talk to the press. We haven't seen that. Jonathan wasn't like that. Bray wasn't like that. So it does give you a sense of just, or you are attracted to the guy and a sense of, I love this guy as my coach. He seems very excited to be here. I tweeted a quote from him. I didn't just want a shot at the job. I wanted to be at Oregon State. So that says a lot about who he is.
And that I think reverberates we heard him talking in the scrum too about how he'd been looking at being a head coach for a while. It was, something he wanted to do. And it wasn't like this was his first interview, but different things, timing and different things were off. And with this job, it was everything just aligned. We have some questions here, and I'm just going to jump in the chat. The excitement, here's Steve Donnie 4077. This excitement Shephard is generating is why I didn't view him as more risky than those FCF guys. I agree. You watch a Vegan or Polasek. First of all, Polasek had no West Coast recruiting ties at all. Nobody on the roster was from the West Coast. Or I think he had one guy from Sacramento. Vegan was, you watch his press conferences, they were very low energy, very methodical, kind of Jonathan Smith-like. So this is totally different. So that excitement I agree with. He is very, Dobby 1164 says the core of his team sounds like offensive and defensive line. That was something too, Davis, that he mentioned toward the end was, first of all, he talked about his offensive line needing to play tough, but he also then talked about how he makes a point to get to know those guys because they're the heart of the team, both lines. So that stood out to me as well. Melody Bloom says, Brandon Huffman dropped a nugget about good news coming soon on the recruiting front. Any ideas what he's referring? Yes, there is some good news potentially coming on the recruiting front. We'll kind of talk a little bit about recruiting as well here in a little bit. I'm expecting a commitment coming, a familiar name. So it's not going to be somebody out of the blue. This is somebody that Oregon State fans should be aware of, but I look for a recommitment potentially from a player. So keep an eye on that. And we're going to talk about signing day, which is tomorrow. We'll talk about that a little bit here as well. The one thing I wanted to bring a little kind of outside from the press conference today is because I have been working the phones now, since Thursday, Friday. And I have heard from so many, both media members and coaches who have worked with or beside Coach Shephard. And I can't tell you guys the amount of respect and love, every single one of them. It's unbelievable to me that there's not the amount of people that are willingly just texting me saying, oh my gosh, you got an amazing coach, or, oh my gosh, Coach Shephard is more of an amazing person than he is a coach. I've had coaches now that are in the mix to move to Corvallis that we're talking with, basically just tell me, look, I will do whatever it takes to help Coach Shephard be successful. That he is that amazing of a person. So it tells you it's a different mindset. This guy has built relationships everywhere he's gone. And these people, some of them were with him 10, 15 years ago, and they are ready to pack up and move across the country because they respect him and see his vision. A little side note that to me, it spoke volumes of the type of person, and the guys know this one. So Friday morning, when it was announced, I texted Coach Shephard just a quick, hey, congratulations. My name's Angie Machado. I'm a Beaver Blitz. Just want to introduce myself and say congratulations. Welcome to Oregon State. Did not expect a text. Okay. I was not looking for a text back. I just thought, it's a good and at midnight, my phone dinged. So this was Friday night, Saturday morning. It was 3 a.m. Alabama time. And he actually took the time to respond. Do you even know? I mean, I can't even imagine how many texts that guy got. And then he's like, who in the hell is Angie Machado? But he took the time to whip out a quick text. That just it just speaks, in my opinion, it speaks volumes to the type of person he is. So just a little side note there. He values relationships, and goodness, I was with Davis. We walked out. We were kind of like, whoa, amazing stuff. Davis, Kaz, he also values student reporters and journalists. So I'm excited for you guys because he talked about, your access and how he works with you guys as long as he can trust you. So, which we've already built that. So it's all good. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the staff. That is coming along. Nothing official has been named. We do believe that the GM is Aaron Hodges, who, if you guys have looked at his resume, he has been with some of the top. He's been with Sonny Dykes. He's been with Urban Meyer. He's been with Kalen DeBoer. So he's been with a lot of top programs. Coming in as GM, huge hire. When I asked someone about him, the word I got was energy. Recurring theme here. This is not going to be your sit around. We're the little Beavers. This is energy. Somebody else I spoke with today said, who's been in the coaching world a long time, said Coach Shephard brings Dan Lanning type energy, and that was kind of their best comparison, was that this is Dan Lanning energy. I mean, Dan Lanning's kicking some ass. So, I mean, that's big time. Let's talk coaches, assistant coaches. Spencer, what do you want to see as he rounds out the staff? What do you want to see? He also kind of alluded to what he was looking for, but let's talk about that. What do you want to see from assistant coaches from him?
Yeah, I mean, it for me, it comes, we see a lot of these, some comments about first-time OCs and DCs becoming coaches and that sort of thing. I go back, and yeah, I'm nervous about that too. Who isn't? Every school in the country who's going through this has got to be nervous too. So we're not unique, right? I think with the three pillars he kind of brought up, with explosive and detail-oriented and just tough-minded, I mean, you can just tell he embraces that, and he's going to the people who are attracted to him as a coach are going to come work for him, are going to embrace that same mentality. Otherwise, he doesn't have to sell his coaches on the mentality. It's built in, is my perspective. And these guys, whoever he brings in, is going to be ready to go at the start.
Davis, what are you hoping he brings in, or what are you expecting him to bring in assistant coaching wise?
I mean, I trust him fully to do what he thinks is best. I mean, he's already obviously talked and reached out to some coaches about coming here, but I've thought about something he said about people talking to him about, oh, it's your first time being a head coach. And he said, well, it was my first time being a father. There's a first time for everything. So you don't know if you're going to be good at it until you do it. So, I mean, last year, we had a bunch of first-time coaches. Didn't work out great, but doesn't mean that first-time head coaches won't always work out.
Yeah. I thought that was an amazing answer too. Yeah. And he didn't miss a beat. So, he probably heard that. Kaz, what are you hoping he brings in from an assistant coach standpoint?
A lot of like-minded people like him, and I think he definitely will. A lot of energy too. I want that sideline to be nothing short of a lot of energy, and just a lot of guys that are ready to attack and bring new schemes and really get to know the players and bring a culture that we haven't seen to Oregon State in a while. And I think he'll definitely do that with all the pieces.
Yeah, and he talked some recruiting, and I knew he was going to kind of be vague about it a little bit, but I can say that the coaches I'm hearing, he does have connections to. He's coached most of them that I'm hearing potentially, and the reason I don't want to mention names just yet is there's a lot of jobs open, and so there's a lot of dominoes, a lot of pieces, and some of these coaches maybe haven't talked to their current employer yet. So we're going to keep this kind of, I would say if you check out the hot board on Beaver Blitz, it's pretty up to date. I will make an update here in the next day or two. But think connection. He is, the coaches he's talking to all have connection to him, or for the most part have some connection to him. So recruiting wise, I thought it was interesting because he kind of talked about the core being Oregon guys or guys within like 5 hours of Corvallis. Did you guys pick up on that?
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was interesting because, I mean, Oregon is not some talent-rich site. I guess you could 5 hours away, it could be Bay Area. But then he did expand upon that and say that, he wants to see Oregon State strong in the Bay Area, in Southern California, in Washington State, Vegas. So Oregon State had really kind of started to build some pipelines in Vegas, and he mentioned Vegas. And then kind of threw in Colorado, Utah. But then you look at the GM, and he's from Dallas-Fort Worth. So then you have some Texas ties there. So this is going to be, I think he might want to stay more local West Coast, but I think we could see players from across the country making the move. Davis, did you pick up anything when he was talking recruiting about, because he started really like hyper local, but then he was throwing out, well, I got a guy from New Jersey, and then I've talked with coaches in Detroit. I mean, he was kind of like all over the place there. So what did you take away?
Yeah, it kind of sounded like he wanted his core to be within like those 5 hours from here. Just having a good amount of people from around to show the guys that are from New Jersey or Texas, and show them around and help with the recruiting. And then even once they're here, just help them connect with Corvallis and Oregon. He said we need those people, those guys that are 5 hours away, they'll take players home for Thanksgiving and Christmas and just connect and bond. But it did sound like it would be centered around Oregon, but he definitely talked a lot about California. And then he did talk about Las Vegas. He recruited Jeremy Bernard from there. And then I don't remember if Rome was.
I think Rome Aduze was from there as well. Yeah.
So he talked about Vegas a lot.
Did you guys watched it online? What did you guys pick up on the recruiting side of things?
I thought it was interesting he brought up the local thing, because one of the things that has been rumbling around social media from the fans is that Trent Bray didn't do a good job recruiting locally and getting local kids. So I wonder if he said that to kind of reassure that that's just not going to happen. He wants to look locally first. So maybe he was addressing two things at once.
Kaz, what did you pick up on?
I would say same as Spencer. I remember even Jonathan Smith. Can't remember the quarterback's name, but he didn't recruit him.
Sam Levitt.
Yep.
Yeah,
he didn't recruit him, and then we left. I mean, I don't think he was going to leave. But, if we did recruit him back then, we could have got him in the portal and whatnot. So I think, having a really strong base in Oregon will help us that we haven't really had in the past few years.
Yeah, Sam Levitt, if you recall, Oregon State didn't even talk to him. He ended up signing with Michigan State. Then when Jonathan Smith was announced head coach, he bounced to ASU and has done some good things down in Tempe. So looking ahead, I mean, he talked about when he was off on his little stand-ups that he hasn't been sleeping much because he's been working. So he is working just through the championship game. So tonight, him and his family will be flying back to Tuscaloosa. He'll spend kind of the rest of the week, working the phones, doing what he can, hiring a staff out here, helping to run the offense for Alabama, but then he'll be back here full time. So a couple of things, his family, adorable. The little girl fell asleep, Malia. She totally fell asleep. She was adorable. Son, I talked to him briefly. He is a 9th grader, so he plays football, so he'll be moving out here, which immediately I thought Eli, Riley Stevenson, Coach Riley's grandson. He's a freshman at Crescent Valley, so hook those two kids up. But I had heard this family wants to be active in the community. They want to, do events. I mean, he talked about the Easter egg hunts and different things. I heard his wife has found a house already yesterday, found a house kind of northwest Corvallis on a little property with a barn that apparently they could entertain. I guess this family, they love to entertain. He mentioned that he had his wide receivers over at his house on Thursday for Thanksgiving dinner. So this is a guy that's not going to be just, sitting in his office all the time. He's going to be out in the community. How important is that, do you think, as far as building the entire program, the community of Corvallis and the surrounding areas? And we're going to start with Kaz, because poor Kaz keeps getting the middle here.
I think it's absolutely huge. Smith and Bray didn't do a lot of community things from what I saw at least. And as you can see, a lot of people lost interest in the team, maybe because we weren't great. But having those people and those connections and him talking to the community and all those things will probably bring more people to the stands. And it just builds an atmosphere and a culture that you want to surround yourself with, and you want to see him succeed and everyone else. So I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah, and we talked about that in some pods too, just about how sometimes building those relationships help when times are bad, because it gives you some grace, because people feel like they know you and you're just not sitting in your, ivory tower doing things. Davis, do you think, being that you are in the Corvallis area as well, like you're here in the community, how important do you think it is for that head football coach to be involved in the community?
I think it's super important. I mean, like most schools that have that very enthusiastic head coach, they all love their head coach. During the interviews or during the questions, every person that asked a question would give their name, and he'd say oh, hi, nice to meet you. He'd talk to them already, just trying to get to know everyone. And it shows his character and that he truly cares. And I think that's a big part of getting closer with the community here in Corvallis.
Did you notice, Davis, when he was answering the questions, he was really trying to make eye contact with the person who asked the question as well. You're in the stand or in the crowd, and he was trying to connect. And then when we kind of talked to him one-off, and the eye contact, it wasn't looking over his shoulder who else does he need to talk to? He acted, he was actually engaged with the here and now, which that's a skill that takes, I can't say that everybody has that skill in his position. So that wasn't noticed. And did you notice how he started the press conference, you guys? He started by thanking he started with his youngest daughter, but thanked them each for something that they had done. And he looked at them. I mean, I thought it was pretty powerful just to watch him look at his daughter, look at his wife and his kids, and thank them for something that was, because this is upending their life as well. So very interesting. So any other big picture things that you took away from this press conference?
I liked his acronym, YAYA. That was fun.
YAYA. Let's talk about that. It was YAW.
Yep.
Kaz, talk to me about it.
You are who you are associate with.
You are who you associate with. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's completely true, and I like that. And I think we'll probably see that around the facilities at some point, somewhere out. But I think that's a great little acronym that he brought up.
Yeah, I saw somebody talk about. I'm gonna in the lodge that I'm gonna teach my that they're gonna teach their grandkid that, and it was. I think from what I've heard, he has a lot of those little acronyms. Like I said, the Freddie Slow, YAYA. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. Spencer, what did any other takeaways?
Yeah, it was interesting to watch. When he was really adamant on making a point, he would end that point with saying, "Okay, all right." And so I kept and I just wrote a story about it. I kept kind of cluing into that and being okay, what did he say before he said, "Okay, all right"? And so I think we're going to hear a lot of it, and I want to hear more of it.
Davis, how about you?
I mean, I'm just so excited to see what he can do. I mean, he already seems so determined to get this place back to what it used to be.
Yeah, he talked a lot about history too, and just that he knows what it was like. He hated the chainsaw apparently when he was here a couple years ago, but now he's going to learn to love the chainsaw. I love that he wants to get the former players back and hear what it was like. He's like I said, he's already spoken with Brandon and with Brandon actually made a comment that he's ready to come, or I guess he said looking for a wide receiver coach. Brandon says I'm in. Coach said you go finish playing and then we'll talk. So maybe we see a Brandon Cooks return, but that wanting to know what this place has been, what it can be, and I think having the players' insight into what it can be is going to be. It's going to be fun to watch unfold because this is going to be a place built not only with him, but he is taking the former players. We have a question here. Will any players come with Shep from Bama? Okay, nothing in stone quite yet on that. Portal doesn't open until January 2nd. If they make it further, it could be a little longer for the Bama players. I don't know, guys. I think we might see a player or two that, and I'm not saying starters. I'm not saying even on the 2 deep at Bama, but Davis, you think we can get maybe a guy down the depth chart a little bit?
I'm sure there's some offensive players, at least some wide receivers that would love to follow him. I mean, his personality, he probably committed there for him. So I think. Yeah.
So like I said, nothing in stone. So the past like 5 days, it's all been, and I apologize, but this is kind of, I've been all in on like figuring out kind of assistant coaches and like what direction we're going there. Now, after today, I transitioned kind of back to doing that and recruiting. So we're going to talk a little bit now about recruiting because early signing day is tomorrow, guys. Not a lot of time to kind of get moving on for Shepherd. There are going to be some signees. Now it's not going to be, and he mentioned this in the press conference. Yeah, he could go get 25 guys to sign tomorrow. But he wants to do his homework. There are some guys signing. Some of the commits will be signing. Let me pull up the list just so you guys kind of have an idea of who we are going to see. And I apologize because I don't have my multiple screens. So if you're just joining us, I am sitting in the press box in the visiting coaches booth here in Research Stadium. So it's kind of fun. Okay, I'm going to tell you who we're expecting to sign tomorrow from the commit list. Sinai Thomas is signing, and he will be an early enrollee. So he will be joining the team in January. So that's big news. He's super excited. As a wide receiver, who wouldn't? Like you just all of a sudden you go from total uncertainty to like winning the wide receiver jackpot, I think. Jeremiah Brown, the linebacker from San Jacinto, he is signing and will be enrolling early as well. Kai Wheaton out of Allen, Texas, cornerback, he is signing and will be enrolling early as well. So there's 3 early enrollees. Kai, if you don't know, is Kenny Wheaton's son, Marcus Wheaton's, I think, cousin. So kind of a fun fact there for Oregon Staters. Adel Dorr, Issaquah, Washington edge rusher, is signing as well. Now, this fun thing about him is he's a 4th generation Beef. So he is all in. He is so excited to be a Beaver. Braylon Tolliver from Erie, Colorado, running back, is signing as well. And Landon Cook, he was a late addition kind of just within the past like month from De La Salle Concord. Tight end. He is, I've heard both. I don't know if he's waiting. He might be waiting to sign until February, but that's the list. And then there's also the 2 preferred walk-ons, Derek Farmer out of Medford, Cascade Christian, and then Philomath's Rocco De La Rosa will both be signing as well tomorrow. So not a huge class, but we will have blowout coverage on that and all of our get-to-know features. Wheaton and Rogers back. Sorry, I'm looking at Wheaton and Rogers back. What year is this? It's a good year. It's what it is. Talking about some old timers here. So no, that's going to be a fun signing day. But then we transition to the portal. So I've also been told to expect a surprise or 2 tomorrow with signing day. So one surprise, as I alluded to earlier from Melody Bloom's question, I look to see a potential recommit from a former commit that maybe backed off when the coaching staff was in uncertainty, maybe recommitting. So stay tuned to that one. And I've heard, now I don't have specifics, but Davis and I in passing today got a little tidbit that there might be a surprise or two. So stick with us tomorrow. We'll have you covered as far as that goes. But then we go into the portal, guys, and that's where things are going to get really interesting. So Coach Shephard did meet with the team yesterday. I was told the players said, whoa, this is going to be the toughest winter and spring we've maybe ever seen. He talked a lot about discipline, I heard, and commitment. So I expect we see some roster turnover. I know that might be the understatement of the century. Davis, do you see a big turnover of guys leaving this team?
I could definitely. You weren't recruited by this guy. I could see you definitely opening up your recruitment again and hitting the portal. Doesn't necessarily mean you leave, but just exploring your options. I could definitely see that happening, like big time. But you just never know.
Yeah. Cass, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we could lose a lot of players.
Do you think that this could be a 40 to 50 guys jumping in the portal?
I think it could be, and I don't think that's the worst thing either. Some of them maybe good thing they leave for reasons that I don't even know about, but they could be whatever. And
it's been a rough season.
Yeah. Or no, a lot of them could stay because they want to play for Coach Shep, but also he might be a mutual thing, and he might say we're going elsewhere as well. So
yeah, that's what you have to remember. And I think this is a good reminder because Oregon State, the coaches aren't going to come out and say, we told these guys that they have to go in the portal. So as guys enter the portal, you don't know the whole story. And so it may be by choice, it may not be. So I would encourage you not to go on social media and rip these guys apart because they're choosing to make a decision. And sometimes it's to make a decision for playing time. Sometimes it's a better fit. There's a lot of reasons. So I just Beaver fans, one of the things Coach Shephard talked about was being classy. So I think Beaver fans should be classy as well and just wish them luck. I think that's the best thing you can do. Spencer, do you think that this is going to be a big exodus?
I'm kind of going midway on that, like half and half. But I'm really curious to see the players who do leave. And we'll never really know the reasons, but I'm wondering if people do leave because they just don't feel like they can match his energy and they don't want to work as hard as he's going to demand. And so, let's go. Let's see what these guys, we know a lot of these guys and they are tough. They're great kids. And I hope a lot of them stay. We've identified a bunch that we really want to see on this team. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting over whenever that January 2nd, right?
January 2nd. So yeah, so it's going to be busy. For those that think that after the season, Beaver Blitz gets quiet and dead, no, it gets really busy actually, especially now with the new staff. So we'll be covering not only signing day and those guys tomorrow, then we go right into the assistant coaches and announcing those hires. We'll have I update that thread whenever I get some new intel from sources. I update that. Then we go into the transfer portal, and then it goes to signing day in February. Meanwhile, men's and women's basketball is going on, wrestling's going on, all the gymnastics, all the winter sports. Then we go into baseball. So I think a week and a half after signing day in February, surprise starts. So it is not a slow time at Beaver Blitz. So we'll have you covered. The team will have you covered. I'm going to pull up some questions from the damn questions we have in the lodge. We'll try to get to a few of these. Like I said, I apologize that I don't have my multiple, don't have all my screens that I can pop from. So we're going to just pop this up on the phone and see what we got here. Any ideas on who the recruiting staff will be? I don't know exactly. The GM will be a big part of that, Aaron Hodges. I don't believe he is in town yet. And then we also did find out that J.R. Mawala has been retained. So we don't have his title yet. We don't know what his position will be, but he will be on staff, which is great news for Oregon State. J.R. is amazing at what he does. Still trying to hear some of the other staff if they're retained or not. A lot of those meetings happened yesterday. But JR has a ton of energy, a ton of experience. So I like that continuity. I think at some level, yes, a new coach is going to want to bring in his guys, but it's nice, especially in recruiting, to have some continuity and know where those come from. So Height, do we know anything about what the responsibilities are for co-OC or co-DC on Shepherd's staff? Davis, you guys, he didn't really talk about that. It didn't really get in the weeds there. The thing I did hear that kind of piqued my interest was he talked about, you guys catch the part about developing coaches so that it's kind of a plug and play. So he's expecting coaches to move on because they do a good job and they get moved, and then having guys within the staff then that can fill those positions. Did you guys hear anything else? I don't think he really got into that. Here, hopeful 2019. I was really energized when Bray was hired. He brought enthusiasm, knew the roster and the program well, and there was genuine excitement from everyone involved. With Shephard now taking over, what short-term indicators will you be watching for that might reflect his leadership and signal that the program is moving in a different, more positive direction? That's a really good question. What are we looking for in the next month? Kaz, what are you looking for in the next month that will just, besides the energy and what we saw today, what now does he have to do to put that into action?
We'll bring in some good players for sure. And then I think community, kind of what he talked about, just seeing a lot of him and doing things within Corvallis and whatnot. We didn't really see that much of Bray, but I think if we see him out and about, that goes a long way in my eyes.
Davis, what's success look like that he's moving in the right direction, like the next 20 or 30 days?
I would agree with that for sure. Definitely recruiting. We only have 6 commits, so we need to just get on that. But I think what Cass said, just being within the community, and even if it's just posting on Twitter or something, talking to Beaver Nation, Scott Barnes hasn't done much of. That was one thing we talked about a little bit. Just being if you have a better connection with the community, it's just everything else is gonna be better.
Okay, Spencer, how about you?
Yeah, fan engagement. Maybe that's the same thing as community, but it's just watching how empty Reeser was, and I know the team wasn't great this year, but watching how empty it was, it's it broke all of our hearts, right? And so I feel like he's going to be really instrumental up front to re-engage the fans and be like, we need you back. And the alumni quote that he made was awesome. I want you back.
Okay, that's solid. I'm gonna go on. I agree. Recruiting is huge, but I think if you had a 1A and a 1B, I'm gonna say with his staff, who he builds. So there's some big names out there right now that are being talked, potentially as potentials. Now, will they land at bigger programs potentially? But if he's able to establish a super solid staff, I think in the next 30 days, and then 1A, 1B, then recruiting. And I think they kind of go hand in hand. With a good staff, the recruiting comes as well. He did mention something, and this takes me back to the press conference, that he wasn't building his staff based solely on if they were good recruiters. So I thought that was interesting, and I think that was the way to go about it, because I've seen some coaches build their entire staff around the best recruiter and maybe not the best coach. So he wants to have a mix of both. He wants to have a good teacher, good coach, teacher. He also talked about his background as a teacher, that before he got into coaching, he had actually done some GA work where he had to teach at the university when he was a GA. And so that I think really came through in this press conference, was that he wants to lead and teach men. But that was another kind of a little nugget I picked out, that he isn't necessarily building this entire coaching staff based on their recruiting prowess, but on both how they can recruit and how they coach. So those two things I think go hand in hand. So in 30 days, we want to see an amazing staff put together, and then the starting of some really good recruiting, I think is what I'm hearing, which I think I agree with completely. Dust in the Wind said, what are the early reports with recruits and recruiting in general? I reached out to all of the current commits that will be signing tomorrow. That story went up this morning, first thing in the morning, to get all their comments. I think they're like all of us, like they just have liked what they've heard so far, and they're really excited. So Ty Beck asked what was the salary pool for assistants. That did not come up, at least not in our scrum. I saw Scott Barnes had another small scrum. I don't know if that came up there. Question, what is Coach Shephard's approach for building the O-line and D-line? Is it recruit and develop, transfer portal, utilization, or both? What is he looking for? Davis, you want to talk on that? Because he did talk about offensive line especially. He talked about just, I guess, it was all about he wanted tough players.
Yeah, I mean, he talked about, being tough more than anything. Like, he talked about his wide receivers too. Like, it was the whole thing was like kind of connected with blocking. Like, your offensive line is like the one that are supposed to be tough or like that starts it, but your wide receivers are the one that finishes it. Like, you need your offensive line to block for everyone else to want to block.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
He made a point, or the Alabama radio call guy on the Joe Beavers or with Mike Parker yesterday made a point when Shephard was talking to his receivers. He's like, my yards and your yards. Before you get the ball, those are my yards. After you get the ball, those are your yards. I thought it was a really cool anecdote.
And he talks about his yards and that he should be up for a Biletnikoff. I've heard he thinks he should be up for the Biletnikoff because they're getting their yards because he's getting his yards. He is going to be a soundbite machine, I have a feeling. I did see one quick interview where he said, I don't need a microphone. I'm loud enough. And I think he'll, like I said, he's a walking soundbite. But yeah, Beef Cat, I think the offensive and defensive line, I mean, he addressed that. Those are going to be the heart of the team, that they want to be tough and relentless.
He did say something about, I'm pretty sure that recruiting-wise, he wanted players that have played.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Or that they were connected to coaches that he's been bringing in.
Yeah.
So I think look out for that. Not guys that have been sitting at a Nebraska and are third string. Look at guys that have had some live reps.
That is a good point because I picked up on that. And he talked about he knows who his assistant coaches are and how they're planning to bring guys with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and that had played. So that you're right. That was very, very good, Kaz, because that was I think important.
We had some guys from last year that we got on the transfer portal that maybe didn't play so much and might be in the transfer portal again.
Let's see. I'm going through here. Okay, so T-Wall94 said, I'm curious to know what the real draw was to Oregon State other than his first head coaching opportunity. I think this was I think he kind of talked about this a little bit, Davis, when he was doing the scrum. We were kind of in the back of it. And somebody asked him, we know why Oregon State wanted you, but why did you want Oregon State? And he talked about just that he felt that this place, it was right there, the winning could happen. He had everything he needed in place here to win. And he was picky about kind of the jobs, but this is the one he kind of went all in on he said he called several of his mentors and different people and said, what do you think about Oregon State? And they all said, yeah, that's a great job. So, like I said, end of the day, he wanted this job. It wasn't like Oregon State had to beg him or go chasing after him. He went into this job, wanted it hard. I'm going to take maybe one or two more questions. Anybody in the chat have any questions? Pop them in there right now. He did say his goal was to win the Pac-12 and win a bowl game. So, WH1, what are his core leadership values and principles? I think we've kind of talked about that. It was integrity. Spencer, you want to talk about that a little bit while I scroll through some more?
Yeah, what did he say? He said
his pillars. He had 3 pillars, right?
Yeah, ball dominance, details, and explosiveness.
That's right. And yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you watched I'm hoping we see more video of him meeting the team because goodness gracious, our little text string last night was going crazy because we watched that 20 times each. I loved his winners win because that's what winners do. I loved it.
Yeah.
My poor kids I've always grown. I mean, my poor kids have had Nelly's song number 1 because number 1 because 2 isn't a winner and 3 no one remembers. Or I always tell them second place is the first loser. So my kids laughed. They heard that and they were like, and mom loves this guy because that's my mentality. So loved it. Any other hot buttons? We've actually talked 50 minutes. This has been good. I don't know. Final thoughts. Oregon State is going to be better at, give me one word, Spencer, in 2026 because of JaMarcus Shephard.
They're going to be tougher in the trenches.
Okay. We need it. Kaz, Oregon State will be better in 2026 because JaMarcus Shephard.
Come back to me. Go to Davis.
Okay. Oh!
They're going to be better at explosive plays because of
Okay.
JaMarcus Shephard.
Okay. Kaz.
They're gonna be better because they have better wide receivers because we're gonna get Ryan Williams.
Oh, wow. Oh, is this your,
I'm just throwing in my hot take too. Yeah.
Oh, Kaz, we love you. This is just why we love you.
We're gonna get him, I
just
promise.
disciplined. And I see somebody in the comments said that too. This team is going to be disciplined and they're going to be tough, which is going to, I think, translate overall into everything. And I mean, at the end of the day, it was energy. And that's what we started this podcast with was Coach Shepherd's bringing energy. I think everybody he surrounds himself is going to be energy. So I don't know if I've been this excited about Oregon's, the potential coming from where we're at right now. I mean, this feels pretty dark, a week ago to where I feel right now. Davis, optimistic, ready to run through the wall.
Yeah.
Kaz,
Extremely optimistic.
Spencer.
The expletives I was dropping our text chain should say it all last night.
Yes. We were texting back. I mean, seriously, I watched it like 3 times. And then when my son, Jack, came home from work, I'm like, Jack, you got to watch this. And he watched it. And like I said, he laughed. And he was like, okay, Mom, you're going to love this guy because he sounds like you. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us on this podcast. Super fun day. And as I said to a Beaver fan the other day, hope always springs eternal if you're an Oregon State fan. But it really feels like, wow, maybe it's Oregon State's turn. So we'll keep you guys posted. Stay with Beaver Blitz and all of us on Twitter as we keep you updated on all the happenings that will be happening, probably fast and furious over the next 3 weeks. So stick with us, and we'll be back next time for another episode of the Damn Podcast.